Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Todd Evans and Stephen Schnee to the show. We're going to rank our top 10 favorite tracks from 80s band A Flock of Seagulls. So this should be pretty entertaining, so let's get started.
Talking bands no one talks about. Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Steve Schnee and Todd Evans. You've seen these gentlemen before. We just did a darn show, but they're back already. But tonight we have a special treat because we are going to go back to the 80s and we are going to talk A Flock of Seagulls. And in fact, we're going to rank our top 10 songs. So I don't know who's talking Flock of Seagulls, but the Warehouse, we talk Flock of Seagulls. We are.
I'm always talking Flock of Seagulls.
If you go over to Stephen Schnee's channel, it's all Flock of Seagulls all the time.
If you usually like if I'm filling up my gas tank at the gas station, I'm going, oh hey, how you doing? You like Flock of Seagulls?
See? Flock of Seagulls, ladies and gentlemen. So this is a band that formed in Liverpool, 1979. Mike Score, Ali Score, Frank Maudsley. Say that fast. And Paul Reynolds. So they got a record deal.
Paul Reynolds.
We're going to talk.
Sorry, I'm a Paul Reynolds fanboy.
I am too, because we'll talk about it. But formed in 79, they got a record deal on Jive Records in 1981. They had three big hits: Iran from 82, Space Age Love Song from 82, Wishing I Had a Photograph of You. 1982 is big for this band. This was in 82. And from 1984, The More You Live, The More You Love. So beyond that, that's about it. Nothing else that really changed the course of the earth or anything. But I must say,
changed my world.
Well, I'm just saying, but this is one of those bands. Now, if I'm looking at certain 80s bands, I can count certain 80s bands on my finger that I really think have aged well and still hold up. That might be for another show. But A Flock of Seagulls is one of them, because I think at least those first three albums, and we'll talk about it, really stand up. I don't think there's really anything weak on them. You could take all of those records and just kind of combine them all into one, and I think you'd be good.
Yeah, I think that they're really, and I don't mean this in terms of dating them per se, but they were really the epitome of that 80s sound, because they combined the elements of synth pop, because a lot of people consider Flock of Seagulls a synth pop band, but they are far from a synth pop band. So they combine the element of synth pop, then they have that almost post-punk guitar sound of Paul Reynolds. And then there's a bit of funkiness to Frank Maudsley's bass playing. And then of course, Ali and Frank, really good, rhythm. And I think that just an incredible band that was, their reputation was assassinated by a hairstyle.
You think that's what killed them?
Yes. No. Didn't kill them. I believe that it killed their legacy.
It's why people didn't take him seriously for more than,
Yeah, I think that people just go, oh, A Flock of Silly Haircuts. Right. And it was fantastic when they came out, because there was that novelty thing. It got them the attention. That was unique. But then what happened is that it became to define the band as opposed to their sound. People are going to remember these hits, and when they hear them, they're going to just go, oh shit, yeah, I love that song. I love that song. But again, when people think back at them, they think about the hairstyle. I love the fact that they're still remembered for at least those hits, but the albums, and just real fast, for those of you who aren't familiar, basically the albums that we're really going to be focusing on is the first album, A Flock of Seagulls. And then there's the second album, which is called Listen. Third album is called Story of a Young Heart. Then there was a fourth album, ill-fated, called Dream Come True, when Paul Reynolds had left and they became a trio.
So is that the Cherry Red CD?
No, it's not the Cherry Red CD, unfortunately.
The Cherry Red CD goes for big money, because I think it came out, went out of print.
And then
I didn't know there was another CD other than the Cherry Red CD.
Yeah, this was on a label called Alma Cantar.
Oh, okay.
It actually came out before the Cherry Red CD.
Okay.
And then Mike Score revived Flock of Seagulls with, he had moved to America and he revived Flock of Seagulls, and they put out an album called The Light at the End of the World, which I think is a very, very, very strong album, but musically they're almost reliving old glories. There's a song that has kind of the same beat as More You Live, The More You Love. There's a song that sort of has the same feel as Space Age Love Song, things like that. And I think that might, turn people off a little bit, but the thing is ultimately, the songs are really good. And then of course, there's, things like Ascension and In Flight, where the 4 original members got back together and they recorded orchestral versions of the songs. There's tons of remixes, remasters, collections and stuff like that. But then there's 2 CD remixes and rarities.
I need that one. I don't have that.
And so I'm just showing these so people realize that this is a band that has, not a lot of albums, but they have a good, decent catalog. And it's not just that first album that everybody knows.
Yeah. It's well worth looking into. I swear to God, like I said, this is one of those bands I think still holds up for me from the 80s.
Yes.
Some things I listen to and I go, oh, this isn't one of them. Yeah. Does it sound 80s? Yes, but it's so well produced, so well written, so well played. Everything lines up for these. So for us to rank these, to do our top 10, I think there'll be some tracks that are obvious choices, but I think we might find a lot of different variations between all 3 of us. So it's going to be fun. Look there. Now, the Cherry Red, this is the Cherry Red, but you've also got the deluxe edition.
This is a deluxe 3 CD edition that came out, a year or 2 ago, and has everything that's on the Cherry Red plus more.
Yeah, and I don't have that.
Yeah, it's domestic too. It's got like radio performances, live performances, tons of great stuff. And of course, the Cherry Red one, which is, as we all know, fantastic.
Right.
But I also have the domestic one that came out on CD. And oddly enough, we know that Mike Score is the guy who tours. I have to see them again just so I can get Mike Score's autograph, because I got Frank, Allie, and Paul to autograph this, because I saw them on the reunion tour.
Oh, cool.
Sort of the VH1 bands reunited thing. And they did a reunion tour, but I didn't get Mike's autograph, which is strange because he's the one who's always here.
You're going to have to check him out somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say that the Cherry Red CDs, I know Todd peruses the Steve Hoffman site a lot, but the Cherry Red ones, when these came out, really got a lot of praise over on Steve Hoffman's site for sound quality.
Yeah, and I only ever had the original Aristas or 5 or whatever, and they were just okay.
But I mean, they had a lot of nice bonus tracks, blah, blah, blah. What Cherry Red had done was wonderful, but I'd be interested in hearing that 3 CD set that you held up, because I still haven't bought it, but it seems like a great package. It'd be great if we had a Flock of Seagulls had some kind of treatment on all those records, like 3, that'd be
because they
beautiful.
are, people consider them a novelty band, kind of a, like I said, Flock of Silly Haircuts, whatever. No, they're a band that is very much worthwhile. They had solid albums. At least the first 3 were completely solid, and they were on just this great musical trajectory. And there's something to be said about chemistry, because the minute Paul Reynolds left, it fell apart, in my opinion.
Well, I think Paul, it was like you needed all those guys together.
Yeah.
To have the magic.
The chemistry.
One ingredient missing, and it doesn't work. And I'm not saying that 4th record was totally, absolutely hideous. Well, depending on who you talk to. But it was something to do with the chemistry between all 4 members. Yeah. Well, let's start our process. We've got 10 tracks. Do we want to see? We could do...
We'll do the same thing.
Let's just do one at a time, and we'll just try to speed it along.
All right, we can do that. All right, I'm going to go, since Steve had to wait so long, we're going to start out with him, and then I'll go to Todd, and then myself. We'll just keep looping around. So, Mr. Schnee, what's your number 10?
My number 10 in my Flock of Seagulls is a song called Committed, which is a B-side. I think it was a B-side of maybe Wishing, whatever. It can be found on the Cherry Red version of Listen. And it's just this great edgy, kind of dark track. But it's really, really catchy. There's a couple versions. There's like a 2.5 or 3-minute version. There's also an extended version. And it actually got a lot of airplay on KROQ when it came out, which is an LA new wave radio station back then. So Committed is my number 10.
Excellent. Todd.
Okay, well, I had a number 10 and I changed it. I had a number 10 that came from the fourth album. Hang on. Dream Come True. And I always thought that on that album that there was only one track. I hate to be that guy who says no Paul Reynolds, no Flock of Seagulls, but that in my heart, that's kind of how I feel. I think that one of the things that makes them such a strong band is the minimalism of it. And I think that the arrangements are very economical. And when something happens or something changes, you really notice the change. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's brilliant how they did that. And I think that Paul Reynolds was a big part of that. But I always thought that the last song on Dream Come True, A Whole Lot of Loving, was a lot better than the rest of the songs on the album. Mm-hmm. And then I listened to it, and there's some stuff on it I don't like. There's some female vocals that are really high up in the mix. There's some really fake sounding steel drums. And so I cut it. So I was trying really hard to include something from that fourth album. And there's just too many other great songs, and it had to get the cut. So my number 10 is DNA. And DNA is the instrumental from the first album, and it won a Grammy Award in 1983 for Best Rock Instrumental Performance. Mm-hmm. And that Grammy Award is always kind of like, oh my gosh, are there enough instrumentals? So like if you're a band that's popular and you have an instrumental, you're going to get nominated for that award. But well deserved. It's a cool song, and it's got some cool Paul Reynolds guitar in it. And we'll talk more about him later. But wow, does that guy have a great tone?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
it's absolutely brilliant tone. He should market that. There should be like a Paul Reynolds pedal or something. Mm-hmm. So DNA is my my number 10. Sorry that was so long.
No, that's good. I am. My number 10 was going to be DNA. But I pulled it. I love DNA, don't get me wrong, but we only have 10 to work with, and unfortunately it didn't make it. I'm going with a track that was on the original UK album, but by the time the album was released in the States, they had pulled it off of there. Now, when I got the Cherry Red CD, I was familiar with the original US. I had the vinyl. I knew that record. Mm-hmm. But when I got the Cherry Red CD, there was a track on here called Tokyo. Mm-hmm. And I listened to it and I'm going, oh my God, why did they pull this off? It's catchy. It's got that Oriental flavor to it, but it's got everything you want in a Flock of Seagulls song. But it's very upbeat, peppy kind of track. It's not dark by any means. I think I just totally was taken by it. And I could not include this in my top 10 because I love it. Mm-hmm. Great track. If you're looking at this first album, it's really hard to really get rid of anything on here because it's really just a flawless record, but anyway,
yeah,
Tokyo,
I agree.
Track. See, I love it.
Yeah. See, I knew Tokyo because I had both the American and the UK vinyl back in the day. So, and then what people don't remember is like the very early versions and maybe even later vinyl pressings of the first album in America, they put the single version of Iran on as opposed to the album version. And, it cuts off the 2-minute intro. Mm-hmm. And then it has a fade where the album version doesn't. So, there were differences. So, some people are only used to the 7-inch version and, anyway, so let's get to number, I did want to say, on Dream Come True, there are songs that I like this, like Better and Better, Heartbeat Like a Drum, Who's That Girl? I think those are wonderful songs. I think Hot Tonight is the worst song they ever recorded. Cry Like a Baby I like. Say So Much is pretty good. Love on Your Knees is even most horrible or more horrible than the most horrible song they ever recorded. And then How Could You Ever Leave Me? I think it's good. And Hold On, Lovin' is good. But yeah, too many female vocals, too much of a stylistic change. They lose a guitar player and then they add female backing vocals and some weird rhythm and stuff. and then they went from sci-fi type vocals, or I mean lyrics, to like love songs and stuff. It too drastic of a change. I think if it had been over time, it would have been better. But anyway, mine. Let's go to number 9 right now. My number 9 favorite track is a song called "Never Again," The Dancer, taken from the Story of a Young Heart album.
Mhm.
If people still haven't bought this, I think that this album sounds like it would have fit right in between the first and second album stylistically. I think it's like the best of both worlds.
Mhm.
For some reason it didn't do as well, but just a great pop song. Never Again, The Dancer is my number 9.
You know, it's funny, that record. Remember back in the day, you would always see that in the cut up bins because it did
Yes.
not sell.
And
Yeah, I think music changed and evolved, and I think that, like, if you go look at let's say Never Again, The Dancer video, they're
Mhm.
dressed like Bon Jovi, or at least Mike Score is. He looks like
Mhm.
he's more in a Bon Jovi video than he is a Flock of Seagulls video, because I think that musical styles, images, everything was changing, and it was hard for any band to keep up. You know, can you name a band or an album by Human League that is on par with Dare? No, none of them are.
But you know what? I will
Flock
say
of Seagulls, I
this,
think, were 3 great albums in a row.
that the Fascination EP,
Oh, it's killer.
I love that Fascination EP. This
Yeah.
is going on a tangent, but back when that came out, I had the cassette. And
Mhm.
we played that Fascination EP over, and I played that more than Dare.
Mm.
I just loved it. I
Yeah,
loved
that was
everything
basically
on it.
just 2 singles thrown together. But see, I really I dig Human League,
Oh,
but I
wow.
don't. But they were a band that put out an album that just it was huge, and they never ever got close to it. Whereas Flock of Seagulls, they evolved and changed, at least the first 3 albums, and they were just so good, you know. Uh, yeah. So anyway,
All
go
right,
ahead.
there you go. All right, cool. Awesome. Todd, what's your next one?
My number 9 is "What Am I Supposed to Do" from Listen. Starts with that great funky Frank Maudsley bass.
Mhm.
And I just think melodically that's just a great song. Here comes the hate mail. I have an issue with the second album. I think the second album is great, but I think it's a little bit skimpy in the melody department. It's more about textures and atmospheres than it is about melody. And that's one of the things that I like so much about the third album, is that the third album is so melodic. But I definitely like "What Am I Supposed to Do?" It's always been one of my favorite tracks of theirs.
Awesome. Cool. All right, my number
Love that
9.
song.
There are a couple of versions of this. This is the first single that was released. It's Not Me Talking was the first single. The first version of it, I think did that come out in 81, was produced by Bill Nelson. Oh, there
Mhm.
goes the thumbs down. But they re-recorded the track for the second album. Now, they're basically the same. I think that the one that was recorded for Listen's a bit slicker, but I don't think it takes anything away from the original version. The original version's, I think, is a little bit more, should I say raw? I don't know if it's necessarily more raw, but it just has a different texture than the slicker second album version. But I think it's great, catchy, melodies all there. Everything I want in Flock of Seagulls is on that single, and I think it's a great single to start out with. But yeah, check it out. It's Bill Nelson produced that first one. That's crazy. So it's my
Yeah, I could have
number
sworn
9.
that the album version was a remix of the
No,
single.
if you look, they did remix it, but then they re-recorded it.
I'm sure you're right. I never see, because I used to have the 7-inch on Cocteau Records, because it was released on Cocteau Records,
Mhm.
and I used the 7-inch, but I would always play the album version, so that's the one I got more familiar with. So, but the Cocteau version I think is on this. So
Yeah, I don't think it, I don't, yeah, I don't have that. I don't have a copy of it. I found it, I listened to it on YouTube,
yeah.
but I like it. Don't get me wrong. I like what Bill Nelson brought to the table.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's just not quite as polished as
Yeah.
what they did on Listen. But
Yeah.
it's a totally different version than the one on Listen if you really listen to it.
Yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so you want me to go through
Yeah,
go
go
through
ahead.
number 8? My number 8 favorite Flock of Seagulls song. And my list was probably, I think, 22, 23 tracks, and I had to whittle it down to 10. Because I love this band, So anyway, my number 8 is a song. It's not DNA. It is an instrumental, and it's called Intro. And it can be found as a bonus track on both of these, the Cherry Red and the Deluxe 3 CD thing. And it's my favorite instrumental by them. It's very simple. It's upbeat, but it also has kind of a moody feel to it. And that's my number 8.
All right, Todd.
My number 8 is from the first album, Modern Love is Automatic. And I've always thought that was a great track. And look, guys, she's an automatic. He's a cosmic man. Will they get together? They really should know better. By now, they should know better. I love that song. It's a lot of fun. And I knew it was going to make the list, and it's in at number 8.
Awesome.
All right,
I love that
cool.
song.
All right, my number 8 is the second single off the first album, Telecommunication. What can I say? It didn't chart. I don't think that's charted in the UK or in the United States, though. But I think a lot of people think that this is like one of the greatest, at least off the first album, one of the greatest tracks on there.
It got some attention.
Yeah, and I think if you listen to like alternative, well, let me say this: if you listen to like Sirius XM, like First Wave, they'll play it.
They play that, yeah.
They play it. So that tells you something. It stands the test of time, and it's a great track. I'm surprised it wasn't a hit, but I think it's great. Number 8. So, all right, Steve, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is going to be now. Thing about you just said telecommunication, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thing about telecommunication is that is actually the song that got me into Flock of Seagulls, because that was on that Modern Love is Automatic EP, or that Flock of Seagulls EP before the first album came out. And I heard that song, and sometimes when you hear a song, oh, you either go, oh yeah, that's a great song. I bet you that's the only good song on the album. Or you just go, yeah, I bet you they got more songs like this, or songs that are just as good as this. And that's what I felt with with telecommunication. And I bought the EP, and I've been a fan ever since. But let's go to my number 7. My number 7 is also from the third album, and it's The More You Live, The More You Love. And there are 2 versions of it, the album version and the single version. They're just slightly different mixes, but the single version has like a extra drum fill type thing at the beginning. But that's nerdy me talking. But I love the song. I think it's kind of like hearkening back to sort of the joy you feel with like Space Age Love Song and stuff off the first album, but a little bit more textured. So
yeah, cool, excellent. All right, Todd.
My number 7 is Suicide Day from that same album. And this song is actually really, I wouldn't say there's nothing wrong with the Flock of Seagulls lyrics. I like them just fine. I wouldn't say that lyrics are their strong suit, but I think the lyrics for Suicide Day are actually pretty good. I mean, it's a kind of a touchy topic that but I think that they really pulled it off really well. And I like that the song almost sounds, it's melodic, but it almost, because of the subject matter, is kind of like goth light, which I like goth light. Bands like the Bolshoi and people like that. I like that kind of music, and that's sort of what it sounds like to me. But I think this is a surprisingly strong song, and it's not one that I particularly liked back in the day, but I like it now.
Well,
Awesome.
Story of a Young Heart, as we know, was a concept album. And the great thing about Suicide Day is on the very last note, as the last note is fading out or whatever, you hear the theme song, or the title track, the very first song of the album. You hear that sort of fade in and out a little bit at the very end, and it just makes you want to get up and turn the album over and play the whole thing again. So I thought that was a really good idea.
It's nicely done.
Holy crap, Schnee, that was the perfect segue, because my number 7 is the opening track, The Story of a Young Heart.
Wow.
And whatever you gentlemen have talked about, I mean, this album's a lot deeper, a little bit. Well, it is a lot deeper than the previous record. Like Schnee said, it's a concept album, but I love the production on this record, and I love the way it opens up. We've got 6 minutes of pure A Flock of Seagulls bliss, as far as I'm concerned. I love this record. This is the last record before Paul Reynolds left. And they never were the same after this. But I think the way this album is sequenced, the way it sounds, everything about it I like. But there you go. That's my number 7, Story of a Young Heart. Now, I just want to say before we go on, if you've noticed, ladies and gentlemen, we're all over the map.
Yeah.
We're never going to line up, maybe at the top. I don't know. But this just goes to show you how great this catalog is, at least these first 3 albums.
Yeah.
I'd say listen to the 4th one and you can make your own determination. But really, if you're into Flock of Seagulls, please let us know down below your thoughts on these. What's your top 10? Do you like any of these records? Do you not like any of them? We do want to hear from you because
Do you think there's only one album, which is probably some people
and
would say
one
that.
hairstyle? There's multiple
right.
hairstyles.
Yeah.
Just don't let that steer you down the wrong road.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do want to hear from you. All right. Steve, what's your number 6?
Number 6 is probably going to surprise people. And that is because it is probably their most famous song. I love the song so much, but I think just hearing it so many times has knocked it down a little bit in my list. And that's, of course, the song I Ran, which is from their debut album. It was really funny because there are a lot of songs in my life that I've heard so many times, either because I played it a lot or because everywhere you went, somebody was playing it. I remember once going into, I used to work at Licorice Pizza, and walking into the store, and the Giorgio Moroder and Philip Oakey album had come out, and the store that I worked at, they were playing it in the store. So then me and my manager, we had to go to another store and drop something off. We walked into that store and they were playing the album. And then we went somewhere else and they were playing the album. So things like that, it just gets played everywhere. Everywhere you go, things are being played. I Ran, Flock of Seagulls, always. Every time you turn on the radio, went over a friend's house, always. So I stopped noticing it for about 20 years. It was just all, every time it would turn on, my mind would turn off. And then one day, I was about to go into, I think, Target or something, and it came on the radio. And then I heard the guitar or whatever, and I just, whoa, okay, whoa. It hasn't hit me like that in a long time. And I sat there and listened to the song. And that was probably 20 years ago. And I fell in love with the song again. And I've loved it just as much as I ever have. And it's still such a great, wonderful song. There was nothing like it when that came out. And still, nothing. Yeah, it's just fantastic. But because I love other songs so much, that's why it's my number 6.
All right, cool. All right, Todd.
All right, my number 6 is the title track from The Story of a Young Heart. And look, spoiler alert, the first 3 songs on this album are just bam, bam, bam.
Yep.
Instant classics, really well written, but from a melody standpoint. And The Story of a Young Heart is no different. And I absolutely love the song. When I heard this album, I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be huge. And of course, I was wrong. But so that's my number 6, The Story of a Young Heart.
Yeah,
real fast, the singles released from this album and essentially remixes from this album, extended mixes from this album were bad. I don't know if you ever heard extended mixes of some of the things. They were just constant barrage of rhythm to where you didn't hear the songs. And I think that because of that, the songs weren't played as much in the clubs. Because
that's a really good point.
Yeah, there was really no discernible song. It would like fade in, like you just hear like 3 minutes of this boom chi boom chi, and all of a sudden you'd hear like this is a story, this is a story, this is a story, and then boom chi for another 3 minutes,
like the reflex times 10.
Oh yeah.
It kind of reminds me of those Hall & Oates remixes from Big Bam Boom.
Yeah, those are like that too.
I mean, it's like that time.
Who can we blame for this?
Who can we blame?
I do think that hindered club play. So, and that could be why a lot of people really didn't latch on, because people forget that dance clubs, new wave clubs, were very, very, very important to the success of a lot of music. I never went to these clubs, but I knew people who would come into the stores I worked at, or the people I would meet in life or in a record store, and said, "Oh, I heard this thing in a club last night. I want to check it out. It's OMD or Talking Heads or whatever." So
Yeah, I didn't go to clubs very much either, but one of the times I did, the first time I heard Sade Smooth Operator was in a club.
oh wow.
And so it's like when things latch on for, to be played in clubs, that's kind of what gives them momentum.
Yep.
And so if you don't do that right, it messes everything up.
Yeah, I didn't go to clubs either, but when I did go to one, it was in 91 and they played Smells Like Teen Spirit. And everybody in the dance floor, before that track came on, people were just, dancing. But when Smells Like Teen Spirit came on, the whole vibe of the whole room changed. And I went, my monkey brain, I went, uh-oh, this is something. First time I ever heard it, I thought, well, this is different than hair metal.
Yeah.
But everybody was all into it. It was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Whether you like Nirvana or not, I'm just saying, if you were there at that time, everything changed overnight. So it made a big difference. So yeah, you go to these clubs, exactly, like Smooth Operator, you probably sat there and went, wow, yeah, this is pretty good.
I haven't heard anything like this before. Yeah.
I haven't heard anything quite like this. So yeah. So you never know. Well, isn't that how disco took off? Yeah. People just started and just took off. Yeah.
Yeah,
all right.
I just real fast. I always say that I'm not a huge disco fan, right? I like a lot of disco out there. I'm not a huge fan, but I love disco because it was created to give people a way to have a good time, to express, to release energy, to lift them up and stuff like that. That's why disco was created. That's why a lot of dance music is created. So I may not sit home and listen to it, but I love the fact that it exists because, like I said, it's created to bring people joy. So,
well, I can tell you, I could listen to that Saturday Night Fever soundtrack all the way through. Perfect. It's a perfect record. It is what it is, but for a soundtrack, it was great and it deserved to sell what it did. I think it was great.
Burn,
it still
baby,
stands
burn.
up. Burn, baby, burn. Disco Inferno. All right. Well, my that was quite a tangent. My number 6. Wait a minute. Is it me or is it Todd?
I think it's you. Yeah.
No, it's you. It's you.
Is it me?
Yeah.
See, we were on that tangent and we got lost.
I apologize for the tangents.
No, I like tangents. It's fine. All right. My number 6, I'm going to go with a track off the first album. It's an album track. It's not a single by any means, but I think when I listened to that first album, they all could be singles. I'm going to go with the second track, Messages. Catchy. It's what I want in Flock of Seagulls. I don't have to say much about it. Anything off this first record I can pick, but I'm going to go with Messages because it's one of those tracks I can listen to over and over again. So there you go. All right. We're down to number 5.
Number 5. My number 5, Todd has already mentioned it. And it is a song, What Am I Supposed to Do? Taken from the album Listen. That, that bass.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, it has great catchy songs have more than one hook. Frank Maudsley's bass has a great hook to it, that you're instantly taken by. The keyboard riff, Mike Score's keyboard riff has a great little riff that you're immediately attached to. Paul Reynolds and his guitar playing, and then the song, it just works so well, and it actually got played on KROQ, but I think it's a largely forgotten song now, when it comes to oldies or like 80s stations and stuff like that. But it's just a great track.
All right, excellent. Todd.
All right, my number 5 is I Ran So Far Away. And back when this band broke and this album came out, I always liked the other singles or the other tracks that got airplay on MTV, and I always liked them better than I Ran So Far Away. But I gotta give I Ran props because that's really where we first got to hear Paul Reynolds do his whole minimalist guitar thing, where he is literally playing the same thing over and over. He's playing it over. The solo is him playing the same thing over and over until you get to the end. And then when it goes somewhere, it's like, it's so welcome. You're just like, oh, listen to that. And, you get to just listen to the excellent tone of his guitar, play the same pattern. No, 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 no. And it's like, you don't get bored. And then when it changes, you're like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's something about that's that kind of economy
Mm-hmm.
in an arrangement that I really love.
Yeah.
It's like the anti-Steve Vai. And when
The
I, when I was
anti-Steve
coming up,
Vai.
I liked that kind of stuff. Nothing against Steve Vai, but I liked that kind of stuff. I liked Span Up LA because all the guitar solos were up at the end of the neck. None of them were here. They were all here. And I liked that because it was different from what everybody else was doing. So
Yeah.
for that reason, I love I Ran So Far Away. And the country I ran is also very far away. I always thought that was,
There you go.
So-
I don't know whether
We
they did that on purpose or
something.
not, but I always thought that
learned
was
something
clever.
on this channel.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about it is I chose I Ran as what, my number 6, I think. Todd chooses it as his number 5. That's a song that maybe a lot of viewers is the song they're most familiar with. That is their biggest hit, yet it's halfway down our lists. So it shows that this band is more than just, one or
So
two.
many
Exactly.
great songs.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So number 5. My number 5, I'm picking yet another second cut off an album, off a listen from 1983. I'm gonna go with Nightmares. I think that it's almost like, why does it seem like on these Flock of Seagulls albums, there's like 3 great tracks in a row, like a 1-2 punch, or how would you call it? What would you call a 1-3 punch? That doesn't make sense.
Or a 1-2-3 punch.
1-2-3
Or
punch.
thrice punch.
But I think Nightmares, Wishing I Had a Photograph of You, of course, is absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. We'll get to that. But Nightmares, so far you're hitting it out of the park. I don't know. I'll leave it at that. Great track. I like it. So
Well, people talk about, and I've always not liked this term. People talk about front loading. And I think sometimes people misunderstand that. I mean, I don't think that if an album has 3 really great songs or 4 really great songs at the beginning of it, I don't necessarily think that means that it's front loaded. I think it just means that they're trying to hold your attention. If you're going to buy this thing and you're going to put it in your car, and they don't want people's, I'm thinking 80s now. They don't want people to buy this on cassette, get halfway through the second song and throw it in the back seat and never listen to it again. So I don't necessarily think that if it hits you with a 1-2 punch, an album hits you with 1-2 punch or a 1-2-3 punch or whatever, that necessarily means that it's front loaded. I just think that that's smart sequencing in their case, I think it's very
so
smart.
you just pull them in,
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
It's like Joshua Tree, I think, is the ultimate 1-2-3 punch album. It's just 3 great songs, and it's smart to start an album that way.
I should go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm go ahead and say what you're going to say, because I have a question. So go ahead.
No, you do your question, because mine is related to what Todd was talking about, but not related to Flock of Seagulls.
Okay. Well, I have a question. So Nightmares was my track that I picked. It was also a single, the second single off of this record, which makes sense. Steve mentioned how on the third record, how the dance mixes were just so robotic, I guess, or herky jerky. How would you describe that?
They were just too rhythmic.
Rhythmic.
They were more focused on the rhythm of the song rather than the melody, or of course dancing is obviously rhythm, but you have to have something that keeps your attention, which is the hook or the song or whatever. And those remixes were, I think they were ill-advised.
You lose the song in them. The worst examples of those for me, have you ever heard the remixes of Owner of a Lonely Heart and Leave It?
Yes.
Those are the worst offenders, I think, in that category, because it's just, you take the groove and that's all you get.
God, there's a show right here, the worst remixes.
Right.
Who's talking remixes? Oh God, I have to write that down. God, this is how we get shows, ladies and gentlemen, just from this.
I automatically knew in the 80s if I saw
horrible remixes.
If I saw dub mix, I was like, okay, that's one I'm not going to like, because I never liked any of those.
Yeah, you know,
And
XTC did a lot of dub mixes.
they did, and I don't like them.
You know,
But how do you feel about the 12-inch mixes off here? Like Nightmares was a 12-inch single. Do you
Some
feel
of
that
them,
that's, I
yeah,
think
some
that
of them
that
are
one's
good.
pretty good. I don't
Yeah,
think
some of
that's
them are good.
offensive by any means.
I think actually the 12-inch on this is better because it adds you know, there's that like there's you know, the instrumental break or whatever, and then he's going like, "Do you love me?"
Hmm.
You know, they add an extra one of those to it, so it makes it a little bit longer, but it's not like this extended thing where, you know, it's got all this space just for dancing. It's just a
Yeah.
longer version of the song.
Because the 12-inch of Wishing, I think, is absolutely brilliant because all they're doing is stretching it out.
Like
Yeah,
to
that's a
9
good one. I
minutes
like that
long.
one.
Well, it's
Yeah.
brilliant. So I'm just saying that the 12-inch versions from Listen, I'm down with. I
Yeah,
think it's great. It's before things kind of got out of hand, you know?
yeah. I
But
think one of
anyway.
the best 12-inch singles, and I keep throwing in all these other 80s bands here, but Ice House No Promises had a really fantastic mix that basically sounded like the song kept building. Like it started off with a rhythm, then a little bit of the keyboard, maybe a little bit of the melody comes in, or whatever, then the bass comes in. Then it builds up to a little bit more keyboard, and it just keeps adding stuff into it until the song actually starts. And that's,
Mhm.
I think, one of the best 12-inch mixes out there. Number 4 has been talked about already, and that is a fantastic song called Messages off the first album. Really great, fantastic, simple keyboard riff, comes in with Ali Score's, you know, drum lead in, and it's just from there, it's just a nonstop, great little 80s new wave pop song, keyboards, guitar, bass, drums, hook, everything you love in a song right then and there. Messages, and it's very short too. I think it might even be under 3 minutes or sort of thereabouts 3 minutes.
Um, yeah, I don't think it's very long.
Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah,
see
it's
if it's
251.
257. Or
Yeah,
yeah,
I
there you
guess it
go.
depends upon which CD you're looking at.
right.
Yeah,
But yeah, great
yeah,
choice. Holy
that's it.
crap. All right, Todd, what's up? What's
My
number
number
4?
4 is telecommunication, and I was thinking that it might be actually a little higher than number 4, but it ended up at number 4.
Mhm.
Man, Bill Nelson production. I think the production of this song is absolute genius. And when the full band kicks in, it's like a minute and a half into the song. When the full band kicks in, it sounds so good.
Yeah,
And I love the way it's engineered. And for mostly that reason alone is why I like telecommunication. I just think the band sounds so good on that song.
It just makes you wonder why Bill Nelson didn't produce like the first record.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Mike Howlett's production is
No,
is
no, I
bad
don't
at
think
all.
no, I
But yeah, it makes me wonder why he didn't do maybe 2 or 3 more tracks.
don't know.
Maybe he did, and they just picked the ones they like the best. Who knows?
Yeah, it could have been a label thing too. Label said, you know, hey, we're happy with these, maybe not with these so much.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it is what it is. All right. So, all right, that's your number.
That's my number 4.
For number 4. So, God, swear to God, my number 4 has already been talked about. Now, this I debate. This is actually, I was really torn where I should put this record because I absolutely love it. I might like it more. It fluctuates. My top 4 could fluctuate, but today I'm going to go with The More You Live, The More You Love. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It could be my number 1 one day. The thing that I like about it is that it's very melodic. It's not overplayed. Like some of the ones that I'm going to choose for my, 3, 2, 1, you could possibly consider those to be overplayed. I don't know. Depends upon your mileage may vary. But The More You Live, The More You Love should have just been a gigantic hit here. And it's too bad. I think it's just some of A Flock of Seagulls' best work.
mm-hmm.
But it's already been talked about. I'll leave it there and we can just keep moving on.
Go to number 3. My number 3 is a song that I never hear anywhere. Now you guys could have it in your top 3, but it is one of my absolute favorite, and it was a single off the second album, and it's called Transfer Affection. And it's a great balladish type song or whatever, or mid-tempo. A couple great hooks going on in that song. It's probably atypical from A Flock of Seagulls. You know, you expect them to be more upbeat, but this is kind of a more laid back, melodic. It's not a ballad, but it's just wonderful. It's got nice layers to it, as most of the Listen album does. Listen was an album of layers and of more moods and atmospheres than it was, I believe that Todd said earlier, maybe less melodies, whatever. But I think the melodies are the ones, they're not as direct, but they just end up wrapping themselves around you. So Transfer Affection is my number 3 off of the album Listen.
All right.
Transfer Affection was my number 13. It got cut.
Ah,
but it was always in the running for top 10. I like it quite a bit. My number 3 is The More You Live, The More You Love. And I don't know why was this not a huge single? I have no idea. It's got that great kind of really quiet kind of dun, 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 like in the background that it's the same. It's very much like Space Age Love Song. It's almost got that. It's almost the guitar, the really quiet guitar in the background almost sounds kind of Roxy Music-esque. And I really love that about it. And so I think The More You Live, The More You Love is a beautiful song. And it's my number 3.
All right, cool. All right, my number 3, I'm going to go with I Ran. We've already talked about it before. This really charted low in the UK. I think this got up to like 43, and here in the States, I think it got up to like number 9. For some reason, The Flock of Seagulls really took off here. And I'm just amazed by that.
Was that video?
You think it was probably MTV that did?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, they played the heck out of that thing. I still remember it. I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. But you look at it now, you're going, pretty good.
You know what's interesting though about this band? Speaking of that video for I Ran, I think that the image that they had of being a haircut band is what kept them from having longevity, like Steven said. But try to find somebody who doesn't like A Flock of Seagulls. You don't find very many people who like hate them. Nobody doesn't like them. If you say, "What do you think of Flock of Seagulls?" people will say, "Oh, they have some cool songs." Yeah, I mean, it's like,
well, no, you're talking about logical music fans. There are people out there who hate them just because it's cool to hate them. But remember,
I don't doubt that.
For 20 years, it was cool to hate ABBA.
Right.
Everybody laughed at ABBA, right? But no, us pop guys, we always had ABBA in our collections. And then all of a sudden it was cool to like ABBA again.
And some of those people, I'm not certain that they actually like ABBA.
Well, when Pete Townsend,
they just like saying they like ABBA.
Yeah.
When Pete Townsend said that he thought ABBA was the thing, isn't that when it turned around? He really likes them, thought that they were just brilliant. I think that helped their credibility.
Look, Billy Joel the Stranger, I think it's right up there with Supertramp, Breakfast in America, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, Eagles, Hotel California as a classic album of the era, right? But people seem to hate Billy Joel just because it's cool to hate Billy Joel. But if you went back and listened to those records, look, Billy Joel was making better albums than McCartney was in the 80s. Uh-oh.
Billy Joel has...
Wait till I insert the cricket sound effect.
Yeah, I know.
Billy Joel has the distinctive honor of being a pop rock music star who's written a standard. He's actually written 2 standards, New York State of Mind and Piano Man. People will be singing those at the piano forever. Yeah. They're like right up there with New York, and I Left My Heart in San Francisco. Yeah. And that's an amazing feat for a pop star. It's absolutely amazing. I know this is like a super tangent, but
I love when we go on tangents. People are watching the show are going, "What the hell are they doing?"
Yeah, I'm here to, I'm here for Flock of Seagulls,
not Billy Joel.
Schnee's.
We're gonna have like an angry Flock of Seagulls mob.
Stephen Schnee, Billy Joel. God.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to throw this in before we continue.
All right.
Todd was talking about, or no, I'm sorry, both of you were talking about albums being, top heavy, or front loaded. I remember working at Licorice Pizza, somebody coming and saying, "Oh, I want, such and such by Whitney Houston." And I said, yeah, that's on this cassette. I handed it to the label or to the lady. And she goes, no, I already have this one. I want the one with blah, 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 whatever song. And I said, well, it's on this album. She goes, no, it's not. I have this CD or I have this cassette. I play it all the time. And I said, first song, side 2. And she goes, oh, well, I only play side 1.
Mhm.
And
That
I'm
was a
thinking,
thing then.
yeah.
Yeah. People would
Yeah.
just play the same side over and over.
Yeah. So I thought, well, gosh, you know, I mean, imagine somebody getting into the set of Abbey Road and not hearing the medley because all they heard was side 1 over and over and over again. But no, that's another tangent that I apologize. So
My,
go ahead.
my first, I'm gonna take it even further. My first wife, I can tell the story because I know she's not gonna watch this. My first wife loved that Little River Band album, Sleeper Catcher. And when you could rip albums onto your computer, she only ripped side 1. And I was like, well, why did you do side 2? Well, I don't ever listen to side 2. It was, it was like how Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory doesn't like things that don't finish. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you can't just rip side 1.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Yeah.
goes against the laws of physics, doesn't it?
It does. It goes against
Yeah.
a lot of things.
I'm sure it does. Wow. All
I'm
right.
sorry. I don't mean to pick on her.
No,
She's
you're
cool.
not. It's just you're just stating facts. And I don't know who's up next. I've totally lost control and I don't know where we are.
I did Transfer Affection as my number 3.
And I did More You Live, More You Love is my number 3. Did you do
Oh,
number 3? Oh,
I have
Grant, you
not.
did.
I
thought
did.
you
I
did.
ran.
I ran. Okay, so it's Steven's turn.
Okay, so it's my turn again. My number 2, and I don't mean number 2 as in duty. My number 2 is the very first song I ever heard by Flock of Seagulls off that Flock of Seagulls EP. And that's the song Telecommunications, which ended up on this album. And like Todd was saying, just that beginning, it's almost monaural in sound,
Yeah.
whatever. And it reminded me very much of what is it, Mustafa by Queen, where like the first part of it is in mono almost, or very, very sort of centered. And then when the band kicks in, it's like, holy, and it almost gives you chills. And it's just a wonderful, catchy song it's just fabulous. So anyway, my number 2 is, I'm trying to make up for all the tangents I did by keeping this one brief.
Okay.
Telecommunication off the very first EP and off of the self-titled album.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, Todd, what's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is a song that I thought was going to be my number 1, but I had an upset. I have called this song the perfect pop song. It is, as far as favorite songs of mine, it is way up there. If I had to make a top 30 or 40 songs by anyone, it would be on it. Space Age Love Song. I think it's perfect.
Pretty good.
And I think it's
it's all right.
I think it's the perfect example of Paul Reynolds' economical playing. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's planned out, like how the guitar is going to progress and get to that super satisfying part right at the end, and then the song is over. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it. My number 2 is Space Age Love Song.
Well, Todd Evans, great minds think alike.
There's
because
almost no space between my number 2 and number 1, by the way.
No,
Sorry,
no.
Grant, I didn't mean to.
No, we keep it loose here in the warehouse. Space Age Love Song. Exactly what you said. Absolutely brilliant. I think it still holds up today. Even if you have like the isn't there there's a lot of different versions. I think they all hold up. I don't have to say anything more about it. Absolutely brilliant. Keep it moving. Schnee, you're up.
My number 1, numero uno, favorite Flock of Seagulls song, Space Age Love Song. I think it is the most amazing song that they ever did, and I love tons of their songs. It is a song that stops me from whatever I'm doing every time it comes on. And that's usually, I don't listen to the radio, so it's usually when I press play. And it is a song that mesmerizes me from beginning to end. It is a song that takes me right back to 1982. It is a song that reminds me of falling in love. It is a song that reminds me of the wonders of 80s music. It is a song that reminds me of it just encapsulates that wonderful time in all of our lives when music and there was still an innocence and charm to our lives and our outlooks. And it is just a song that is means a whole lot to me, and it's just incredible song. Space Age Love Song, available off the first album.
Yeah, the thing about that song is it's amazing to me that a band had a song that good on their debut. I mean, talking about coming out of the gate fully formed. I mean, it's just astonishing to me.
And the
Well, they
lyrics
had
are
played-
so simple. The lyrics are completely simple and just repeated over and over again.
Yep.
But they'd
But
been
so
together since
effective.
'79, so they had a while
It
to
took them a little while, I suppose.
took them a little
but
while, but they were ready to they were ready to record by the time,
That song defines the 80s for me.
it is the 80s,
Yeah.
but the good 80s.
Yes, exactly.
There's a show there, 80 songs that 80 songs that have aged well and still are relevant. There's a show in there somewhere. There's a show in there.
Yeah,
I like it.
Too Shy by Kajagoogoo wouldn't make my list of that. So go ahead.
I think we did a Kaja Gugu show.
we did. Where did we do that on?
We did it here.
Oh, you're right.
It
we
was
did.
you and me and who else?
It was that Ryan Gavalier?
Ryan
I can't remember.
Gavalier. We did a
Yeah.
Kaja Gugu song.
I
mean,
do like Kajagoogoo. I just think that Too Shy is a terrible song.
boy,
and
It's
I
not one
think
of the best songs,
I think
and I-
it's pop goodness.
but
and
it's
I
pretty
think-
good.
And I think that one of the worst song titles ever is by Kajagoogoo, and that's Ooh To Be Ah.
That is pretty bad.
But I
That-
remember us doing that. I dig it. I like it.
Shout out to. Go ahead, Steve.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say Ooh To Be Ah is almost as bad as the Peter Criss song called That's the Kind of Sugar Papa Likes or something.
Oh,
like
that's a tough call.
that. Yeah. Okay.
I think that might be a tie.
Yeah.
Could be.
I was going to say a shout out to Nick Beggs, the bass player from Kajagoogoo, who went on to become a very well respected bass player in the prog rock field,
And he was great in
Incredible
Kaja Gugu.
and a super nice guy and very talented. Love
Great
that guy.
player.
All
I
right.
love- I
Go ahead.
love the Kajagoogoo stuff without Lamal more than I like the stuff with Lamal.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So
We talked about that on that show.
Okay.
My number one is Never Again the Dancer.
Ah.
I think that this Space Age Love Song is a beautiful song. I think that this song is even more beautiful.
Wait a minute.
The lead in, both of the times that they lead into that soaring chorus are really interesting. The first time is this really cool guitar thing that leads into it. The second time it just goes duh, it just stops. And then it's just da 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 da. The way it leads into that chorus by just stopping and just having like a drone note for a couple of beats. Brilliant. So well done. Such great songcraft. And I absolutely love this song. Never Again the Dancer is my number one.
All right. I don't even know if you guys even mentioned my number one.
I'm
Maybe
really
I
interested to
missed
find
it.
out what it is.
It's Wishing. If I had a photograph of you, Wishing is my number one. This
It's
is
a great
basically-
song. It was close for me. It got cut.
How would you cut that? I just don't know. I think it's incredible. The synths on that, the way they're layered, it is pop goodness. And I think that and Space Age Love Song, you could just kind of pick one day, pick another the other day.
When that second album came out, it was the cool thing to say was that, oh, I like the second album better than the first album. Like people who didn't like Flock of Seagulls, when they heard Wishing, they were like, oh, I like this one. This stuff's better. Then that may be something I only heard because I worked in a record store, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
one of
I
the
think it's
cool
brilliant.
things to say.
We
I think
see,
it's absolutely brilliant.
no, I think Wishing is great. I mean,
I think it's great
songs-
too.
Songs that didn't make my list include The End and Over My Head, both of those from Story of a Young Heart. The Fall, I think, is a great song. Nightmares, stuff we talked about. Wishing, If I Had a Photograph of You. These are all great songs, but my top 10 are the ones that I've listened to the most and I love more than those. And I am surprised that Wishing didn't come up on Todd's list, and I'm surprised it didn't come up on mine, to be perfectly honest. But just this,
Yeah, I
picked more.
My bubbling under songs were Wishing, Transfer Affection, Remember David, and Heart of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of those
great.
got cut because I already had so many Story of a Young Heart songs.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had
Uh,
other ones that I cut, but I don't know. We all hear this stuff differently, and all these tracks could have been listed. There's not anything weak in this period.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah. So like if they're playing locally, in fact, they tour now with the guitar player from Canadian band Spoons. So he's been playing guitar with them for several years.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
No,
We lost Todd, now he's back.
But yeah, so Flock of Seagulls much, much better than, if you're only just, like a couple songs or whatever, or if you've only heard just a couple songs, they're definitely a band to investigate, especially the self-titled album, the Listen album, and Serve a Young Heart. Those are all great. Light of the End of the World, like I said, is a really
That's
good
not
album.
bad either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that one.
Yeah. Dream Come True. It's got some good songs.
All right. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That just goes to show you how strong this early catalog of A Flock of Seagulls is. Our ranking was all over the place.
It was.
Not how I thought it would be, but hey, we have a strong catalog. Well, at least the first 3 albums. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Could be anything. So,
Exactly.
all right. I want to thank these gentlemen for coming on. Before we get out of here, is there anything you guys want to, anything going on? Stephen Schnee, is there anything you want to promote real quick? Anything coming up on your channel? Because this will
Yes,
be out pretty soon.
I would love to promote a tangent that I'm going to go on right now. No, not really. No, just please sub to my channel.
Links down below.
Yeah, and I'm like Grant. I talk about stuff that maybe you're not going to hear anywhere else. Not even on Grant's channel.
No, you won't hear it here. Todd, anything going on in Rush fans? Anything?
No,
Anything
I did
report?
want to plug one thing. I think it's going to be on before this is on because we're doing it live. I'm doing Grant a Stack of Rock with Mike Ladano, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Look
And
at
we are
you.
picking a Marillion top 11. So top 11 Marillion albums, and I'm really looking forward to that.
There you go. Check both of these. Check out Ladano's channel. His link's down below, and of course Stephen Snee's channel. I want to thank you both for coming on. It's fun talking Flock of Seagulls.
Yep.
Who else is talking Flock of Seagulls?
Yeah, exactly.
We are in the Warehaus. So,
Yeah.
all right, tune in. Please like, subscribe. More great content on the way. What's up next? Who knows? Just subscribe and keep track.
Yeah.
Click that notification bell. I never tell anybody to do that, but
Yeah, click that because it's very, very important.
But someone told me the other day, he said, well, I've done the bell and I never get notified off your channel. I went, oh, I don't know.
I logged into
episodes.
YouTube on my work computer, so now every day when I log into my computer, I have to close like 18 notifications. Todd, are you there? Yeah, hang on. I need to close all these notifications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't see them all because I have to get through all these pages. All right, boys, we'll see. I appreciate it. All right, everybody, leave a comment down below and we will see
Thanks,
you
Grant.
in
Thanks,
the next
Todd.
one.
Thank you.
Fun. Nice seeing you, boys.